Hello, I'm Nate Baird, a communications student at Purdue University. I'd like to introduce you to a remarkable person. If you follow college football, you've probably heard this name. He's Drew Brees, who last year, as a 19-year-old true sophomore quarterback, shattered just about every Purdue and Big Ten single-season passing record on the books.
Drew's always been a confident guy, sometimes too much so, because he thinks he can complete every pass and actually throw the ball through the open linebacker. And that isn't true. But certainly he's a guy that is very confident, and that is really a great quality to have, in the sense that that if he does throw an interception or he does make a mistake out there, he very quickly, he's on to the next play mentally.
That's a beauty. Third down now for Brees. And they were on him. Intercepted! Intercepted! Brees can stop him. He does. He knocks him out of bounds. Brees was the only defender who could knock Mike Doss out of bounds. A disaster for Purdue. The fourth interception.
So Purdue University, funny story. So I have the ACL injury my junior year of high school. I'm not recruited at all.
So going into your senior year is kind of your time to go to the schools, go to the summer camps, get noticed.
And the recruiting process involves that, you know, where they get all the measurables. You know, the 40 time, how many times you can rep 225. And so he really wasn't recruited because of that.
And at all these camps, Drew's slower, okay? He's got a rocket for an arm, but he's not very mobile.
Here listen, I'm a 6-foot quarterback. I play for a team that's a good team. It's a good program. You know, in many cases, it's the system, right? You know, or that was the perception.
And you know, John Malkovich at that time was the head coach at Texas. He caught a lot of flack for not, especially when we were deep in the playoffs, for not recruiting him. And John Malkovich said, well, I've already used up my quarterback allotment.
But we're winning games, and you know, we're accomplishing a lot as a team. And I remember at some point midway through the playoffs, I still had not received a single phone call from a school.
Our senior year, Drew was the 5A state player of the year on the 5A state championship team. Now, what Drew did on the field speaks for itself. And any coach that missed that, you know, chances are they're probably not coaching anymore.
And then A&M, where he wanted to go, also, I don't know, it's because Texas didn't recruit him, A&M didn't recruit him.
Drew only had 2 scholarship offers, full-ride Division I football scholarship offers. It was Kentucky and Wyoming. And the head coach of Wyoming decided to take the job at Purdue.
In 1997, Purdue returned to the college football national stage. A journey back was the result of a relentless pursuit of victory by a unique group of players and coaches. The journey's first step, however, was the hiring of Joe Tiller as Purdue's 33rd head football coach on November 22, 1996. Tiller, a former Purdue assistant, brought his entire coaching staff from Wyoming, plus a focus on the present.
When I come out to practice and we're getting ready for the state championship game, and I look on the sideline and there are 2 coaches. There's one from Purdue, there's one from Kentucky.
We had Coach Tiller from Purdue sitting on a bench on our sideline, or maybe right before the state championship game. And I think Drew was so focused on the game, he didn't want to worry about that.
I look at him and I look at Coach and I said, who are they here to see? And he looks at me and he said, they're here to see you. I said, okay, well, Purdue, Ivy League, all right, that's good. I had no idea that Purdue was Big Ten. That says a lot for its academic reputation. Maybe it doesn't say a lot for its football reputation. But the more that I began to now learn about Purdue University is really what a strong heritage it has and tradition as it pertains to quarterbacks, you know, the cradle of quarterbacks.
I was just glad that there were 2 schools recruiting him, because it would have been a shame if he had not been recruited.
Drew's always had a way of landing on his feet. Joe Tiller getting the job at Purdue.
He was bringing this high-flying spread offense to the Big Ten, which had never been done.
And had found Drew and said, you're my guy. And if you come to Purdue with me, we can make some special things happen.
So there was a lot of confidence with that. You know, I mean, he was the first person who had really looked me in the eye and made me believe that I belonged there and that I could be a part of something really unique there.
because I knew that if our coaches had the opportunity to spend time with our players, that our players would begin to think like our coaches think. And we have a very positive coaching staff and a very good coaching staff and an aggressive coaching staff, and that if we could get our players to spend time around our coaches, we could affect their thinking in a very positive way.
Joe Tiller got the job in December. He's trying to throw together a recruiting class in January, and then we're all signing in February. And
you know, everybody always said we were Joe Tiller's babies. You know, we were his first recruiting class, and it was a small class.
You know, we were ranked dead last in the Big Ten in recruiting classes, and there was only about 14 or 15 of us, you know, whereas most recruiting classes are 25 or 30. So we already had this edge.
That's kind of something to be proud of, considering his history at Purdue. You know, being the most winningest coach at Purdue. When we were all at freshman camp, I remember coming in as a wide receiver, picking out the quarterbacks, and Drew was, of course, the quarterback that was supposed to come in and run Joe Tiller's wide open offense.
Well, first of all, I don't call Jason, I call him Jay Bird.
Jay Bird, gosh, Jay Bird was pretty early. It was never Jason, it was never just Lorzell. Drew always called me Jay Bird. Why? I don't know.
Jason and I hit it off right away. Jay Bird actually started off at receiver. He came in as a slot receiver, and then he ended up transitioning to playing linebacker. He was just a tough, hard-nosed football player that could, honestly, probably one of the best athletes on the field, could play anywhere you asked him.
We ended up, you know, going to the dorm rooms to get our rooms, and we were 2 doors away from each other in the dorm rooms.
We became roommates our second year. You know, we hit it off, became very good friends, along with our other roommate, Ben Smith, who came in as a quarterback and then transitioned to free safety. You know, we were thick as thieves. We were best friends and roommates for the rest of our time at Purdue.
College football, back when we were there, I mean, there were no regulations on, you know, how many times you practice in pads. And you really had to lean on each other to get through. Basically, you know, we're in between practices, you know, we're trying to find a corner to sleep in, to relax, and we're trying to eat the food that we need to eat to you know, still compete and not cramp. But you really develop a bond with not just your teammates, but you know, a lot of them turn into your brothers.
You know what? We're coming in and we're underrated, but we're going to show them what we're made of. And by the time we leave here, this class is going to lead this team to a Big Ten championship and a Rose Bowl.
We're here to win a championship. We've won them in the past, and we will win them again in the future.
It was the kickoff classic against USC. It was one of the hottest games I think we've ever played. We finished that game at USC. Interestingly enough, Coach Tiller boarded us up on buses, and we went over to the Rose Bowl, toured the Rose Bowl as sophomores to kind of get the fire started and burning inside of us. So when we came back, we had already been there. Not to play a game, but we kind of knew what the end goal was, to make it to the Rose Bowl.
But the fact that we had a tremendous amount of confidence in our system and our style of play, I think really provided us with an edge.
There were very high expectations because we had made that commitment to one another as a freshman recruiting class 4 years previous, that by the time we left here, we were going to leave here as Big Ten champs. It didn't start off the way that we wanted. You know, we started off 3-2, and we had lost 2 heartbreakers, one at Notre Dame, one at Penn State.
I think really the low point in the season for myself was the Penn State game. And the way we lost it, where we played excellent defense, but had a couple of miscues in the kicking game, was very disheartening.
And I remember sitting there, you know, it was kind of going into the month of October, staring at 4 ranked opponents consecutively. Here was the gauntlet. You know, if we were going to accomplish what we set out to accomplish, we were going to have to knock down each of these opponents, and it starts with Michigan. And here comes in Michigan, ranked 5th in the country. Look at their entire roster, and just about every one of them played in the NFL, you know, so they had beat us pretty soundly at their place the year before, but you know, we felt like this was going to be different, and if we could win this game, then this could be the catalyst to the rest of the season.
When I look at what we had to come back through mentally as a team from the Penn State loss, I felt that we bounced back and we saved the whole season through the Michigan game.
Here's the snap, the placement, and the boot. It is up. It is good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Fans rush the field, and it's just mayhem. And I think that was That was a big turning point for us, a big defining moment for us during that season, because we felt like, listen, we can hang with anybody. We can hang with anybody in the Big Ten, and we can win this conference. And then it was Northwestern on the road, big win. Then it was Wisconsin on the road in overtime, big win. Then it was coming back Ohio State.
I love that game. We really played the whole 60 minutes, and the whole game was just action-packed.
Third down now for Brees, and they were on him. Intercepted! Intercepted! Brees can stop him. He does. He knocks him out of bounds. Brees was the only defender who could knock Mike Doss out of bounds.
I always, Drew. I've always believed in Drew, no matter what the circumstances are. I always believe that he can bring us back.
I hate to use this saying, but fixing what he broke, leading by example. Stuff like that shows us the leadership and determination that you need to be successful.
Second down and 10. Slot to the left, slot to the right. Cedric Brown stays at home alongside Drew Brees. Drew takes the snap from center. Look, has time to throw. Tears it out deep. Way downfield. Grab on your ass. He's going to score. He's going to score. Touchdown Purdue. Seth Morales. Seth Morales.
So you go from the emotions of Vinny scoring on the Z-follow pivot earlier and how high you are to try to run the clock out to win the ball game, and Drew making a mistake and giving him the lead, to the lows of that, then to the high, obviously, of Drew making a fantastic All-American play to win the ball game.
Hey, what's your mom always tell you? If you break it, you fix it. I broke it, but I think I fixed it.
But as far as the complexity of what we were doing offensively, the way you were required to read coverage, to make checks at the line of scrimmage, to play very quickly, to make quick decisions, just all of those things I felt like prepared me very well. And I had great coaches and so many things that I can point to from my time with him, my 4 years with him at Purdue, that just helped me develop.
Coach Olson did a great job of taking these quarterbacks and having them compete. If they weren't doing football drills, they were having a one-on-one basketball drill contest. Everything was a contest. That's where Coach Olson and Drew fit very well with each other. They were always competing on something.
And so I think that they instilled a lot of those values and work ethic and good habits in me that absolutely carried over to NFL.
He allows everybody else to rise up to his level, or he brings everybody else up to his level. And there's very few players that can do that. I think he's one of them. There's very few quarterbacks that possess that ability.
Who wouldn't want to coach Drew, who's a leader on the field, a leader in the locker room? He's another coach on the field. He's one of those that you can trust that when he leaves the locker room is going to make good decisions. There's a famous picture of Drew and Coach Tiller, with Drew having his arm around Coach Tiller, and it's up everywhere at Purdue. And that was the start of the celebration.
Well, I don't think I'll ever forget the sea of people on the field after the IU game.
Something unique about the season I remember is we had our field rushed 3 times our senior year. 3 times where fans are on the field, jumping on goalposts, bringing them down, just because that was the level of emotion.
I'll always remember that crowd spilling onto the field and the presentation of the trophy after the IU game.
When the horn sounds to beat IU and they bring the bouquet of roses out on the field, I had this image in my mind when I was in high school of watching Charles Woodson for Michigan take a rose and put it in his mouth, and I said, by the time I walk off Purdue's field for the last time, when I walk out of Ross-Ade Stadium, I want to have a rose in my mouth, and we were able to do that.